2 decades back, when the Mahindra Scorpio rolled out, it went on to become an instant hit. There were some initial problems, but they weren't enough to stop the Scorpio from blazing the sales charts. More than 8 lakh Scorpios have sold since then, proving its popularity. However, something the Scorpio always lacked was sophistication, class, and a premium feel. All that seems to have changed with this, the new Scorpio-N. Armed with new age features, Mahindra claims this is a new breed of Scorpio and is future ready. We'll soon find out if that is true, but the bigger question is this still a Scorpio as we've known for 2 decades, or has it softened up?
And that's exactly what we're trying to find out today, and that's the reason why we are driving the Scorpio-N today. Now, if you look at the overall design, it is very different from the earlier Scorpios, but if you go back 2 decades back when the Scorpio was launched, one of the key reasons why the Scorpio went on to become such a massive success was the way it looked. People loved the Scorpio right from the starting because it was all muscular. The car looked beefy, chunky, and that's what people wanted from an SUV. And that's what the Scorpio delivered. Now this is very different from the previous Scorpio. It's no longer having that raw appeal, but I think it's a positive step because this Scorpio-N still looks muscular, it has the visual bulk, but at the same time it looks sophisticated, it looks premium, which is something the old Scorpio did not have. The old Scorpio looked a bit rough, a bit agricultural, but this one looks premium. It looks like an expensive SUV without missing out or losing out on the muscular characteristics. So that ways, I think it's a good job done by the design team. You can see up front you've got this chrome, the vertical slats on the grille, and it has been done tastefully. Now a lot of vehicles we see that chrome is at times overdone, but over here it's just about in the right quantity. Even the headlamps, again, I quite like the design. They've been done up nicely, and you've got the LED DRLs here with the fog lamp. So all of that, when you pair it with the bumper and the lower air dam design, you get a front that is very beefy and muscular. Move towards the side and you'll see that this long hood, this gives it a very good stance and it gives the vehicle a very good proportion. Of course, the new Scorpio-N is the widest and the tallest vehicle in its segment, and when you look at it, it's easy to make out it's a big SUV. Even the wheel wells are filled well by these chunky 18-inch alloy wheels. The tires, again, they are of the right size, give the Scorpio-N a very rugged and a macho appeal. Even if you look at the roof line, it's got a straight roof line. No drama about going sporty and the coupe. No, it's just plain simple big raw SUV, something they have just stuck onto and they've delivered well in terms of design. And if you look at the back, well, this is where a massive change has taken place compared to any other Mahindra vehicle, and you see this vertically stacked tail lamps. They look very nice, they look premium. Yes, some of you might say they look a bit like some of the Volvos, but at the end of the day they look nice and they do their job well. And you've got this brand new rear end, the design here. One of the interesting things about the design is this tailgate. Now the Scorpio always had a tailgate that would just open sideways, not vertically like you would find on the XUV700 or many other SUVs. Now getting that done on a vehicle of this size and weight was a pretty daunting challenge for the engineering and the design team, because when you're doing a sideway opening door of this weight, you need to factor in a lot of challenges. You need to ensure that it doesn't rattle and squeak over the period of time and a lot many other challenges, but finally they were able to do it, and as a result of that, the Scorpio-N retains that trademark characteristics wherein the door opens sideways and doesn't open like a hatch. So as far as the overall design of the Scorpio-N goes, it is different from any Scorpio that you have ever seen, but in a good way. It has grown, it has taken the steps in the right direction. And what has really changed is the fact that this now looks premium. It looks like an expensive SUV. That this is something the Scorpio never had. It always had that visual bulk. It was muscular. This one is as well, but at the same time this one just looks a lot better. It's a job done in a very good manner. Step inside the cabin of the new Scorpio-N, and this is where you will find a radical change compared to the older Scorpio. The older Scorpio, well, it had a cabin where you could sit and you had a good driving position, but it had a lot of flaws. It had a lot of ergonomic flaws. This one is completely different. It looks premium, it doesn't look agricultural, and it has a lot of practicality built all around inside the cabin. Now let's start off with the dashboard layout first, and you can see, well, this gets a very premium looking leather touch here, leather finish here in the center part, and of course the color selection also is pretty nice. So this gives the car a very good premium feel. You have this nice looking SONY sound system with 12 speakers. So if you are an audiophile, again, this is something that will really keep you happy. The sound quality, by the way, is pretty nice. And well, in terms of infotainment system, you've got an 8-inch screen here, and the screen, well, it works well. It gives you wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. It comes with inbuilt navigation. It also gives you some sort of connected features wherein you can access some features using a smartphone. You can also remotely stop the vehicle. So all of that is there, but personally, given the vehicle segment, I would have preferred a little larger screen. But then again, this does the job well in terms of visibility, in terms of touch response. It's perfectly fine. In if you talk about the instrument cluster, well, it's a mix of analog and digital. It's a digital screen in the center, flanked by analog dials on both ends. The speedo and the tacho are analog. Rest everything else is in the digital screen. You can also view navigation here, so that again gives the driver a lot of ease, because you do not have to take your eyes off the road to see the navigation. The steering wheel again is good. It's got a flat bottom design. It's got the usual controls here. It's a chunky steering wheel, feels good and nice to grip. In terms of material quality, fitment quality, again a big improvement from the earlier Scorpio, and this is where you can find a lot of traces from the XUV 700. So when you look at the steering wheel, the instrument cluster, you do see that part sharing, but you also see that the learning that Mahindra got from the XUV 700, that has been carried through, and this cabin just looks plush. It looks premium. And this is something the Scorpio never had in 2 decades. The Scorpio was never a premium looking vehicle, be it on the outside or the inside, in my opinion. But it now finally looks premium. And that is the biggest change in the Scorpio-N. In terms of seat also, again, the seat is very nice. Both the seats up front are quite nice. The cushioning is spot on, and in terms of space also, there is a lot of it. You do get an electrically adjustable driver's seat here in the top variant, so that again is something good. You also get an electrically operated sunroof, not a panoramic sunroof like you would in the XUV 700, but it is the widest sunroof in the segment. Mahindra claims that is the case with it. And in terms of practicality and storage spaces also, all around the cabin you have a lot of storage space that you can actually use. So right from these cup holders here to the door pockets to some space here underneath the driver armrest. Overall, if I look at the cabin experience from the front 2 seats and from a driver perspective, I think the Scorpio-N has really taken the game forward, and now it is right up there to compete with SUVs that cost a lot more than it, but still the Scorpio-N will turn up to be a pretty competitive package. Now let's talk about the middle row of the new Scorpio-N, and well, the Scorpio has always been known for being a spacious vehicle, at least in the back, and this story continues. Now with the driver's seat adjusted to my driving preference, I'm 5 feet 8 inches for reference. You can see that I have a lot of space, In terms of knee room, well, there is a lot to spare. I can easily slide my feet under the driver's seat, get a nice relaxed position for myself. The seat bench itself, well, I think the cushioning is pretty good. It's a wide vehicle, so you can actually have 3 people sitting abreast. The floor is not too high, the floor hump is not very high, so that means the person sitting here in the middle seat will not be too uncomfortable. You have the air conditioning vents here, and you also have a Type-C charging port. What could have been better though in the seat is the under thigh support. The under thigh support is just about okay for me. So if you're taller, well, the taller you are, the problem will be a bit higher. But beyond that, I think again, in terms of comfort, in terms of space, the Scorpio-N just delivers pretty much spot on. And now let's talk about the third row. And in the Scorpio-N, the third row, well, it is like the middle row. It's a front facing seat, and it's not facing each other like you would see in old movies when people are taken to the prison. Nothing like that. And getting in and out, well, it's a big vehicle, so at least the ingress egress is not a problem at all. Now let's check the accessibility to the third row. All you need to do is just pull on this lever, and it's a one touch tumble. The entire seat folds down, and I can easily walk. And this is how the seating looks like. Of course, the middle row, well, you can recline. You can change the recline angle of these seats. Right now I have it at a point where I would want it to be as a passenger in the middle row, and despite that, well, it's not bad actually. Like I said, I'm 5 feet 8 inches, and I still have maybe an inch to spare in terms of knee room. Of course, it's the last row, it's high, and that means your knees are pointing upwards, so you do not have any under thigh support. But if you're going to have even adults sitting here for maybe a short time, well, it's not a bad place to be. What could have been better is I would have preferred AC vents for the passengers here, which is not there. But again, the air conditioning system is pretty effective, so I don't think that should be much of an issue. So as far as usability is concerned, the third row is very much usable. It's not a row that you would use only for kids. You can have adults sitting here, and you can have them seated here in pretty much decent comfort for a short duration of time. Alright, now let's talk about the driving performance of the new Scorpio-N. Now, Mahindra, being Mahindra, well, of course, you would expect a lot of strong marketing terms and adjectives, and there are. They say it's the big daddy of SUVs, and there are fancy terms for the engine as well: stallion, hawk. At the end of the day, what matters is, do they perform or not? And right now we are driving the Petrol. It's a 2-liter petrol engine with 200 horsepower, and the one that we are driving right now has a 6-speed torque converter automatic gearbox. But if you plan to buy this, you can also get it with a manual gearbox. Now, how's it to drive? To start with, it is a refined unit. And for all of you who are wondering, for an SUV of this size, this weight, just under 2 tons, is a petrol engine even going to be good enough? Well, short answer is, it is pretty good. The engine is smooth, like I said, it's a refined unit, and with 200 horsepower, it has enough grunt to get this mass moving, and that too at a fairly rapid pace. Acceleration is more than satisfactory. You can dart out of gaps, and you can complete those long overtaking maneuvers on highway with ease. The car does not run out of breath, so that's a very good thing to start with. Even when you are revving the Scorpio-N hard, the petrol engine, when you're revving the mill hard, even then the refinement is not compromised. So I mean, that's a big change inside the Scorpio-N. I mean, compared to the older Scorpio, which felt a bit agricultural and a bit rural, this one feels so much more plush. This one feels sophisticated, and the way it drives just goes well with that positioning. So this drives like a pretty sophisticated vehicle, and that is something I really like about this car. In terms of the ride quality, I mean, Mahindra claims they have worked a lot on reducing the body roll, and that is evident. I mean, push the Scorpio-N hard around corners, or even when you're going flat out on the highway, you can easily make out that despite having a ladder frame chassis, this does not roll around like crazy. It does not give you an uncomfortable ride. It has got things very much under control. There is, however, a slight flip side to this, and that's the ride quality. In order to get all of this body roll under control, what has happened is the suspension, they've had to stiffen it up a bit, and it's slightly on the stiffer side. So as a result of that, the ride quality is not exactly cushioned. It's not bad. It's not something that will give you reasons to complain. It is a fairly comfortable ride, but at the same time, what the old Scorpio had, well, this is not as plush as that. But like I said, what you lose slightly, you more than make up for in terms of handling. The old Scorpio wasn't really good in terms of handling, and this one really corrects all of that. This one feels confident in the straight line through a corner, and that just makes the driving experience so much more better. The gearbox itself also works well with the engine. It's been paired well to the engine. The shifts, like you would expect in a premium SUV, the shifts happen at a fairly decent pace. It is not blazingly quick, it's not slow, it's perfectly in sync with the positioning of the vehicle. And I think overall, in terms of driving, Mahindra engineers have absolutely nailed the package when it comes to driving. I quite enjoy the driving experience of this vehicle, and well, I think when we drive the diesel, there will be more to speak, but as far as the petrol is concerned, it is more than satisfactory.
And now let's talk about the off-road performance of the new Scorpio-N. Well, it comes with 4-wheel drive, and you can switch between 4-wheel high and 4-wheel low with the press of a button. Now, to test all these off-road technologies in the Scorpio-N, we put it through its paces in an off-road environment, and rain just made things a little bit more interesting. As you can see in these shots, the Scorpio-N perfectly does its job well in an off-road environment. The 4-wheel drive system works well, and even when the going gets tough, the 4L mode is always there to rescue you. The high ground clearance coupled with good departure angle as well as approach angle means that the Scorpio can take on tough terrains with ease. And we put it through a lot of inclines, and that too in slippery conditions, and the Scorpio-N did not flinch at all. And this brought us to our conclusion that not only does this SUV drive better than any of its versions on the road, but even when things are tough and rough in an off-road environment, the Scorpio-N continues to shine.
Alright, so now it's time to conclude this video, and the experience about the Scorpio-N. The big question, is it still a Scorpio? Well, in many ways it isn't, and that's a good thing, because the Scorpio-N has made progress in every department where the previous Scorpios lacked. So that's a positive step. And I mean, in every way the Scorpio-N has grown, and the earlier Scorpios were a bit crude, they weren't sophisticated, they were never associated with the premium image, but this has corrected all of those areas. So again, a very good and competitive package. There are some things that can be improved. For example, the steering is light, it's a breeze to use in traffic, but when at high speeds or through corners, it doesn't really give you any kind of a feedback. I found it to be quite vague. And in terms of the camera, the reverse camera and the front camera, the resolution is okay, but the frame rate isn't really good. So what happens is, when you are seeing something on the reverse camera, it goes like, what are you seeing is in a motion. It's never constant. So that is something that can be improved. But beyond that, there's not really much that I can complain about in this vehicle. as far as body on frame construction goes, this is by far the best handling SUV out on sale right now. Even SUVs that cost a lot more than this and have a body on frame construction do not go around corners as well as this one does. So definitely Mahindra has another mega winner on its hands. The prices you can see on your screen right now, well, they are only out for the manual 4x2 variants, and the pricing is pretty damn good. Now I hope that for the automatic and the 4x4 variants also the pricing is competitive. The prices will be announced soon, and if those prices are also competitive, well, I think there will be another big success with the Scorpio-N from Mahindra, and also a long waiting list.